Hello and welcome to the LRR MTG rules video for Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths. I'm Serge.
And I'm Nelson, and we're here to go over the rules and mechanics in Ikoria so you can mutate with confidence.
What a terrible image.
Mutate is a new and exciting mechanic that can get a little complicated. To help explain how it works, we're breaking our explanation into 4 parts: casting, merging, mutate triggers, and leaving the battlefield. First up, casting. If you cast a spell for its mutate cost, put it over or under target non-human creature you own. They mutate into the creature on top plus all abilities from the creature under it. Important note, a mutate spell can only target a creature the caster owns, regardless of who controls that creature. Mutate is an alternative cost. This means it can be affected by cost increases or reductions, but the converted mana cost will always be the number in the top right corner. A mutating creature spell is a creature spell, even if it won't enter the battlefield as a creature. As a mutating creature spell begins to resolve, check whether its target is still legal. If it's not, the spell ceases to be a mutating creature spell. It will continue to resolve as a normal creature spell and enter the battlefield. A mutating creature spell that resolves doesn't enter the battlefield. It simply merges with the target creature. This means that the abilities that trigger whenever a creature enters the battlefield don't trigger when resolving a mutating creature spell. As the spell resolves, the controller of the mutating creature spell chooses whether to put it on top of the target creature or on the bottom. If the target creature is already a merged creature, the mutating creature spell can only be put on the top or bottom. It can't be put in the middle.
Okay, now that you control a merged permanent, let's go over how that works. The resulting merged creature has all of the characteristics of the topmost card or token, and it also has all abilities from its other cards and tokens. The merged creature is the same creature it was before the merge, so any auras or counters that were on it remain on it. The characteristics of the combined merged creature are copyable. The merged creature is a token if the topmost object is a token. If the topmost object is a card, it's a non-token creature even if it contains a token. If a merged creature has an ability that refers to itself by name, it means this creature, even if it mutates into having a new name.
Quite a few cards have triggered abilities that contain the text, "Whenever this creature mutates." Here's how they work. An ability that triggers "Whenever this creature mutates" triggers when a mutating creature spell becomes part of the merged permanent. It doesn't trigger if a mutating creature spell becomes a normal creature spell and enters the battlefield. If a creature has multiple "Whenever this creature mutates" abilities, its controller chooses the order to put those abilities on the stack.
Finally, what happens when it's time for your precious mutated creatures to leave the battlefield? A merged creature can't be split apart while it's on the battlefield. That means when a merged creature leaves the battlefield, one object leaves the battlefield and each card is put into the appropriate zone. For example, if a merged creature containing 3 cards dies, 1 creature died, and 3 cards were put into a player's graveyard. You can't sacrifice 1 creature card out of a merged creature. If you're instructed to sacrifice a creature, you must sacrifice the entire creature. If a merged creature is put into a library, its owner chooses the relative order of those cards. If an effect exiles a merged creature then returns it to the battlefield, the individual cards each return. They're no longer merged. If that effect has an additional effect on the returned object, it affects each of those permanents.
And there you have it, the basics of Mutate.
But if you're wondering about what happens in any not so basic interactions, enjoy these edge cases I prepared earlier. If a merged permanent has characteristic defining abilities, they overwrite the characteristics from the topmost object. For example, if a merged creature has an ability that defines a star in its power or toughness, such as Boneyard Mycodrax, that ability overwrites the power and toughness defined by the topmost object of the merged creature. If a mutating creature spell merges with a creature that's only temporarily a creature, it will remain a merged permanent when the effect making it a creature expires. It still has all the characteristics of the topmost object, which may cause it to be a creature or not be a creature, and it has all of the abilities of its other cards.
Creatures on Ikoria can grow more and more powerful, even gaining new keywords. A permanent with a keyword counter on it has that keyword. Even though you can give a permanent multiple instances of any of these keywords, we at Loading Ready Run would like to remind you that multiples are redundant. Sorry, flying.
Companion is a new mechanic that allows you to add a powerful friend to your deck if you can meet their strict requirements. Your companion begins the game outside the game. In tournament play, this means in your sideboard. In casual play, it's simply a card you own that's not in your starting deck. You can only have one companion per game. Before shuffling your deck, you may reveal one card from outside the game to be your companion if your starting deck meets the requirements of the companion ability. It remains revealed outside the game as the game begins. The requirements of the companion ability apply only to your starting deck. They do not apply to your sideboard. If you reveal a companion outside the game, for as long as it remains there, you may cast it at any time it's legal to cast. Once you do, it comes into the game and behaves like any other card you've brought into the game. For example, if it's countered or destroyed, it's put into your graveyard and does not go back into your sideboard. The companion's other abilities only apply if the creature is on the battlefield. They have no effect while the companion is outside the game.
There's one returning mechanic in Ikoria, cycling. We haven't seen this since Amonkhet, so let's remind ourselves how it works. Cycling cost means pay cost and discard this card, draw a card. Some cards with cycling have an ability that triggers when you cycle them, and some cards have an ability that triggers whenever you cycle any card. These triggered abilities resolve before you draw from the cycling ability. Triggered abilities from cycling a card and the cycling ability itself aren't spells. Effects that interact with spells, such as cancel, won't affect them. You can cycle a card even if it has a triggered ability from cycling that won't have a legal target. This is because the cycling ability and the triggered ability are separate. This also means that if either ability is countered, the other ability will still resolve.
That's it for all our new and returning mechanics.
Stay safe and enjoy playing with Ikoria. Thanks.